Welcome everybody to the Board of Public Service meeting, April 4th, 2024. If you will call roll, please.
Chair Levinson.
Here.
Commissioner Livermore.
Here.
Commissioner Merzick. Here. Commissioner Toby, excused. Commissioner Hartley.
Here.
Councilmember Harrington.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for coming. Before we start, I would just like to make a motion for our board that we hold all penalties for water and sewer bill appeals that we have before us.
All the water and sewer appeals.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Can you call the roll? Any questions?
What's the reason for this?
So we are going to hold all penalties on all of the water and sewer bills that we have before us, so that no additional penalties accrue while we research and make decisions on them.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Chair Levinson.
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore.
Yes.
Commissioner Merzick.
Yes.
Commissioner Toby is not here. Commissioner Hartley.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna start with 2123 West Street in Oneonta, because the petitioners are actually here with us today. So we held this over last month. We had looked at this very briefly. There are violations on the property for housing inspection. All of the appeals that we have are for smoke and heat detectors, housing inspection, electrical inspection. The information was originally sent to 97 Main Street. Both names, Michael and Eric, were on the address. The county has it listed as Michael's address as the owner, and still does to this day. Am I correct in saying that? Okay. They did a property use form only in October. So the fees have been accruing on this property with the issues. And the owners were gonna get us some documentation for this meeting. That's why we tabled it, so that we can hear what you had to present and make decisions.
The only thing we could solidly find was a check for the electrical inspection in 2021, which was done around the same time as what we thought was the inspection that the city also did. And that was the only thing that we could find. So I do have that. Ben
Okay.
was still looking, and our inspection for this year that was scheduled, the three storms that happened, he had to reschedule. So our inspection is tomorrow at noon, which does not help us in this one for this year, but that was kind of out of everyone's hands.
Okay, and you, say your name again, I'm sorry, you're Keisha?
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Or
wanna make sure,
Robbie, whichever,
say it again?
or Robbie.
Robbie, okay, Robbie. And you had given me some information, John, about this property. Maybe, do you wanna share some of the information with the property for, the board? I know that the buildings were, there was violations that they weren't rental, they didn't have an ordinance for rental for a while. They weren't registered as rentals, but it had been suspected that they were renters for a long time. They originally were sold to Michael Solzer, I think back in 2015, if I'm remembering off the top of my head. Trying to find all my notes on it. It was
Right.
quite a deal of information for this property.
So, and we've talked about these properties in the office quite a bit lately. They were purchased in 2015
Okay.
under Mike Stolzer's name. We've seen them for a while. Seen them meaning you pass by, you see high grass, you see trash. Normally that might set alerts off that possibly could change hands, possibly could be a rental property. The only reason I say that is owner-occupied properties tend to be well-maintained, typically. Or you can, knock on the door sometimes, find out they're owner-occupied, have a conversation with the owner, they'll mow the grass, they'll pick up their trash. And when we had the West Street street repair, that's when we really noticed mounds and mounds of garbage at one particular property, the 21 West Street address. And understandable garbage removal situations on that street, but I was getting complaint after complaint after complaint complaint, and they were like, you guys really need to look at this, this is getting bad. So we did, and we looked into the properties, and we actually started the process of trying to figure out what's going on there. And I think where we've gotten with the administrative fees, with the letter that went out, is I think it boils down to, we sent the administrative fee letters on both properties. We have figured out who our contacts are. We have gotten them on the path to where they need to be. I've made a list of the potential fees on this property. We're talking about 10 grand, like in total fees. So
After this invoice that they've received
Right.
already, because bills, the
The
fees are
accruing
still
fees.
accruing, is what
Right.
the issue is.
So if you were to look at this, I don't know that that's what we're trying to accomplish here. And I told Robbie, is that what you prefer to be called?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
I told Robbie, I don't know that that's what we're looking to do, but keeping that in mind, we've spent a ton of time trying to work out what's actually going on here and trying to figure out who's responsible for the property and getting them on track. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Yep.
I have a question. Does Eric Stolzer still own the property?
He's right there.
He's right there.
Oh.
I'm the property
Dana.
before him.
Here's a kind of a breakdown.
Michael's his dad.
Oh, he's dead, okay.
So what about this receipt that they have for an electrical inspection?
We don't have proof of that.
You haven't received the certificate for
So-
the electrical inspection?
The proof of that she has of payment to an electrical inspector, we never got that. We never got an electrical inspection report, so we have no proof of that. They have one scheduled for tomorrow, which
That's a
was,
housing inspection, right?
no, that's an electrical.
Electrical inspection.
That will prove the electrical requirement for the administrative fee letter.
I see.
So this one that I have payment for, his office is still looking for this, cause he remembers doing it. He said he submitted it himself for us, and he has to look back at his records and get it to us when he finds it. So
Who's-
he's been looking for it for about 2 months now.
Who's he?
Bim Palmer with Commonwealth.
I know. Thank you.
Is that a copy we can have, or?
Yes.
Okay, would you give that to the code enforcement office?
I have another question. You say there's about $10,000 in back fees. How far back do they go time-wise?
Well, since the fees are so high, our initial letter went out in July of '23. And since each separate inspection that we require has a fee associated with it, and since we got every single inspection on both properties, they've been accruing on each inspection, so it's very expensive to,
And it's at 123 days at $10 a day.
Okay, so since July, that's the letter we have here that you sent out. They've managed to do, this is all they've managed to do, is to have some kind of a certificate that we don't understand. Is that correct?
well, they've managed to complete most of what they need to do. They don't have an electrical inspection until tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And here's the other thing that I informed Dana of. So they had a housing inspection conducted in November. I reviewed that housing inspection, and since we are the office that gives these certificates of compliance, I went and re-looked at those properties from the outside. I need a re-inspection. I am not comfortable with that list. Because I look just from the outside, I see violations on both properties.
And so the bills that they have, these that we have in front of us right now, these invoices are year-end invoices. So these bills that they've received are continuing to accrue because we have nothing for these initial bills. So it's another 123 days on top of what they've already been billed, which is year-end bill. So from September through today, actually since the last meeting, because we had stopped those, right?
Right.
So since the last, meeting in March, there's $10 a day, so it's 123 days at $10 a day.
So am I also assuming that like there are 2 invoices for electrical inspection, there's 2 invoices for heating inspection, there's 2 housing inspections, there's 2 smoke and heat inspections. They're all carryover. So there's one that's a carryover and the other one is accruing.
There's one that's, yes, one is closed out.
Closed out.
The other is either closed out or is accruing. Like the electrical is accruing until tomorrow, or until we get the proof that it was done
So you're gonna need a certificate from that
from BEM.
electrical inspector saying that he actually did it on such and such a day in order to, I feel uncomfortable, I feel, okay, accept this one inspection. Because if it was done in 2021, then they're still, well, then they weren't okay, right? How long does the electrical inspection?
So it would have been expired now.
Expired.
It would be expired now, but would it be expired in September or no, October?
Well, actually, so when was that done?
You said
I believe it was
21.
March of 21, March 20th.
Right, so, yeah, it would have been expired now. Right, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Just now expired?
Just now,
Okay,
right.
But that's assuming that the electrical inspection didn't have violations.
well,
Violations.
yeah, well, that's under, but,
And it wouldn't have been, technically, if we would have had this proof, it would have never been on the administrative
yeah,
fee letter.
that's what I,
Right.
so, I would like to make a motion that we hold that one and just wait until, to see if we can come up with from that electrical inspector the certificate that he supposedly dropped off in 2021.
And that's the invoice,
And then I will, I'm okay with the other ones, cause I can see that they just haven't caught up yet.
just wanna verify, Marge, you're saying that invoice number 2023-0651 for $440,
645 and 652,
$652.
I think are the two. 2023, 645 and 2023, 652
$652.
are the ones I would like to wait one more month at least before we impose those fees. Just to see whether they actually can come up with, I mean, this is the first time we've heard that there was a 2021 inspection. And these guys don't have a copy of it. So we just need your inspector to come up with the actual paperwork or something. But the other ones I think we can still discuss, because obviously those weren't turned in. I mean, the property use certification and the smoke and heat are done by the owner. So they didn't get that in
Until
when they
October
got
of,
the letter. No, so that
Correct, you're correct, they did
they're
not get
still
that.
not, those.
I mean,
two,
they are in now, but they were late,
they were not in there.
right.
so when did we get those? Because did they give it to you during the property use certificate in October of 23?
Yeah, I thought, oops, I'm in the wrong one.
So the,
Cause I don't have, oh, here it is. Is this it? No.
usually the invoice is created on the day it was turned in.
I don't have one of your stamps on it.
It's just so light, the stamp, I think you can't read it.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
October,
that's
the date is October
27th of 23.
2023. It was so light you couldn't read it, that's why I had asked again.
certificate is the only document that
That
was
we have.
attached to the
Yep.
appeal.
We don't have the fire and the
And they were-
inspection.
Let's see, property use, October 27th, 2023.
Do you need a date from me for something?
Does that seem October 27th, 2023?
For the
For-
For the
fire smoke
property use
detectors.
certificate?
I'm sorry, you said different forms. Which one do you
You
want?
wanna know
I'm
about-
just looking at your stamp on the appeal, and it's property use certificate, and there's a property use certificate attached.
October 27th, 2023.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's
Yep.
correct. So they do have that in,
Yes.
Yes.
okay.
But now, do we have the
Smoke detector
smoke
form.
detector
is-
form?
Yep.
Same date.
That one is, they turned it in on January 5th of 2024.
Oh, I see, these two are for each property.
Right.
So one is for 21 and
One
one
is
is,
for 23.
Right.
that's why we have.
It's extra confusing because they're on the same lot. So we have to put them down as occupants.
I see.
They're on the same lot.
I see. So the 440 is the difference between $250 plus whatever number of days it was. Okay,
Correct.
all right, got it.
And again, not that the code office made the fault of this. I'm just saying this is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
So on top of, just for instance, the one violation, this 440 violation, this $440 bill that they have, there's gonna be another $560 billed on top of that they'll be
Right,
getting.
so if you
Just for this
approve,
one
if you
violation.
deny their appeal, we'll be billing them
Again,
again, a number two.
More than the
That's why
original
we're
billing.
closing in on 10 grand.
What is their appeal based on?
So the appeal, in the appeal, it's based on notifying the wrong owner, which, again, I don't, we notified the correct owner, which, again, if you make a motion, don't blame the code office for incorrect procedure. You guys might have another reason for reducing the bill, but it's not gonna be at the code office's
no,
fault.
it's just that the legal address is 97 Main Street, that's where everything was sent.
And that's what's still with our county office, so the
These
tax bill
guys
goes to 97 Main Street,
Are
not to where their property
claiming
lease
that
goes
their
to.
address is you're not claiming, your address is 393 State Highway 7 in Sydney, and it's a post office box, but the official ownership of this property goes to, that's what the county records show, it's 97 Main Street. So, until
And it
that's
still
in-
shows
until
Michael
that's
Stolzer as
changed-
the owner, not Eric.
So,
as
but
well.
it's changed now.
It's
You
changed
have a
now,
new,
right.
you have a new address now.
So we've had these kind of things before. I recall that the address goes to the wrong person and it sounds like if this is the official address of the owner and we send it to the official address of the owner, I don't understand why the city is responsible for the fact that they've changed their address.
Before we go forward, can we just, one moment, we can ask more questions, but there was a motion put forth by Marge, nobody seconded it, to hold the electrical inspection violations for those two invoice numbers. Does anybody second it?
I'll second it.
Pick one.
Shall we vote on that
And then discuss
we can
further,
move on
yeah.
to the next discussion?
Okay.
Anybody have questions about holding those till the next meeting? Okay,
Chair Levinson,
yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Merzick,
Yes,
Commissioner Hartley.
okay, thanks, that's
Thank you.
great.
Okay. Now let's go back to what
So,
you were saying, Mr.
That
Hartley.
really has nothing to do with
I
the
got it.
appeal
I got it.
redress.
I got it.
So at hand right now, we have all the rest of the violations that were put forth. The concern is that this property owner is gonna get billed a multitude of cash going forward. However, there was no issue at fault by our code enforcement. Right now, as far as I see, the address that's still on record with the county, cause I just checked recently as to this morning, it still shows Michael Stolzer as the property owner with the mailing address 97 Main Street, Nonianta, not you. That's different from what we send you from the city as far as information with your, inspections being due, and because you did that property use form with us. The property use certificate that we received in October, but, yeah.
Is there only one address that the city uses? Where do they get their taxes sent to?
That's it, 97 Main Street, Nonianta, and Michael Stolzer gets that tax bill, not Eric.
So all of these other things were sent to 97 Main Street,
Correct.
and Michael didn't decide to do anything other than trashing.
I can't answer that.
Well, the appeal's based on they were sent to the wrong address. I don't think that's a valid appeal.
Yeah, so the appeal is stated that they've been mailed to the incorrect address, and that they didn't realize that till they called the code enforcement office. And I don't know, I assume when they got the bill is when they called the code enforcement office.
So let me get this, this code enforcement stuff was sent to an address. It was never returned to the mail, correct?
No,
Somebody accepted.
No, we actually do have a return.
we have a return address. It had been sent,
But it was not returned back to you.
It was returned.
it was returned as not signed.
All of these were returned.
Returned to
Well-
center, unable to forward,
Right, so we sent it certified.
unclaimed.
Actually, we have two mailings, or we have total of 4 mailings. We send 2 certified letters, one to 21 West, or it goes to 97 Main Street. One for 21 West, one for 23 West. Both certified letters. One came back unclaimed, which often happens. The one for 23 West, we never got the green card back. We did, I tracked the tracking number through the US Postal Service, and it says it was delivered to a person on site. We often do not get the green cards back for some reason. So that's the only proof I have that was delivered to a person on site. The regular letter that we mail out along, and we do that as backup because people say they don't get the letters, but the regulars weren't returned to our office. Because if they are, we stamp those and say, well, here's the regular, and that was also returned, but in this case it wasn't.
Let me ask again, did you send the letters to 97 Main Street, which is the registered person?
Yes.
Did those letters get received? Were they
One,
returned?
One of them did.
right.
The US Postal Service says that one of them was delivered to a person.
Out of all of these things,
Half of them came back.
So
out of all of these,
out of the 4 letters, one of them, one of the certified letters came back unclaimed, 3 of them did not.
And the regular letters did not
That's
come back.
including the
but
regulars,
we're
so
talking
3 total letters did not.
sent to 97 Main Street,
Correct.
Yes.
the owner. So somebody at
Correct.
97 Main Street opened these letters apparently.
Well, so the other thing is during the phone calls with Mike Stolzer, he said, what the heck is going on with all these fees? What's going on at 2123 West Street? And I'm like, Mike, what is going on? And there was, I guess, I don't know the logistics involved and what's going on there, but I can only suspect maybe he knew there was trouble at 21 and 23 West Street.
Well, it seems like he should if he's the owner. It's not up to us to decide. He owns the property, and it sounds like you sent the information to the correct address, and he owes the city a lot of money.
I mean, and I do have prior correspondence prior to the administrative fee letter. I've got an email in here that's from May.
About these properties.
I was like, I need to talk to you guys. And it was to Keisha, it was to Eric, it was to Mike.
So
I need to talk to you guys. There's stuff that's due.
So I conclude from what you say that he just ignored these notices.
It happens.
Yes or no? He ignored, it looks like to me he ignored the notices. Why should he not pay the fees? Is he gonna ignore
Well,
that too?
I mean, not that I would say I agree with you, but sometimes these fees can be devastating to people. I mean, $10,000 is a lot of money.
They're meant to be devastating because he ignored them.
I understand that, but that's up to you guys. That's not for me to do, but
I'm not convinced.
So, just from my understanding a little further, Eric had called code office when he received a call from Mike about a letter that they received,
so I've
or?
heard from Robbie.
Okay,
My correspondence has been with Robbie.
okay. And are you the property manager, Robbie? You're the property manager, and you've been this whole time?
5, 6 years.
And that, the Sydney address is your address then?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel for the amount of money that the fees are gonna incur, but, I mean, I kind of am along the lines of Mr. Hartley that these fees have been ignored. We gave you a little bit more time to prove, you know, that you've done X, Y, Z and show us some kind of documentation to prove that, or email trail, something, and there's nothing for me to say, hey, all right, we gotta work with you here, but,
I've moved to deny the appeal with the provision that the two other, our previous, motion
besides the electrical.
take effect.
Do I have a second? I'm gonna second it. Any discussion?
There's no, we can't make any kind of any kind of adjustment.
I mean, you can
I mean,
adjust,
we can.
you could decide that, the Board of Public Service could decide to reduce the fees, you could, I mean, it's up to you. I mean,
The
there's no
problem with
decision.
doing that is that we risk setting a precedent that creates all kinds of headaches down the road. That's why.
The administration
we
fees
could
in
set up
place for a
payment
reason,
plan,
right?
We could set up, I mean, once the paperwork is in, there are things that could be done through the finance office, but, I feel very sympathetic, but I also feel like if the paperwork wasn't in, it wasn't in. You know, I mean, we're kind of, you know, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the
city, right.
not to create a situation where the administrative fees are no longer.
Right. And our office is doing the work, they're doing the
Because
legwork.
everybody comes in and says,
Right.
well, we have a problem, I mean,
Right.
it's a bad time to,
I agree.
personally, I think it was a bad time to increase the administrative fees just because there's more hardship out there than there used to be. But that wasn't our decision, and do you have a second?
I do, I seconded it.
Okay.
Depending on what the outcome is, we can discuss, going forward after that, as far as payment plan and things like that.
I would agree with Marjorie here that if we set a precedent, then every time we have one of these fee things, the appeal would be based on, well, can't you do this? And then we'll have to sit here and decide. It's not our job to decide what the fees are supposed to be. The city council raised the fees.
Right.
Maybe we should inform them that they might have raised the fees too much, but it's not our job. I think,
Chair Livingston,
Yes.
Commissioner Merzick,
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley.
Okay, it passes. Now,
We're very sorry.
I'm
but
sorry.
it's
So
a
there's-
tough one.
like we had stated, you're gonna have a substantial amount of fees that are gonna incur after these. These were already closeouts, so did they go to the tax roll?
No, they were under appeal.
They were
Okay.
appealed before.
So they didn't go to your tax roll, so that those bills still stand, but, who do we make like, can they make a payment plan with Ginny, or like, who does that portion? It's huge, right, Ginny? Okay. Oh, hi, Ginny. I saw you earlier, but I didn't know if you left. So you can get in touch with Ginny to work out a payment plan and see how that goes.
Do we need to take action, Ginny, in order to authorize that?
We do, okay.
Okay, I make a motion that we permit, in this case, a possible payment plan to be worked out with the finance office on this property.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Pass the bill. Call a roll.
Commissioner Livingston?
Yes.
Commissioner Merzick?
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley?
Okay, thank you.
Good luck, thank you. Okay, we also have, 41 Deed Street is present, correct, Dr.? Yes, how are you?
Good, how about you?
I'm well, thank you.
Pretty good for an old geezer.
Just pull my paperwork out.
7.
Okay, so 41 Deeds this is?
Oh, no, 41 D.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay, so this was a water and sewer bill appeal for this property at 41 Dietz Street. And the appeal is coming forth to us by Dr. Sweet regarding that the city had done flushing through the water lines. Thank you so much.
Requested that anybody paid, just, it's part of the whole.
Okay. So, there was thank you, gentlemen. There was flushing that the city did for, our water lines, and as a result of that, the homeowner is stating that they had to have a plumber come in because there was grit and sand found, which created an issue with their toilet bowls, correct? Was the toilet bowl? Am I remembering
No,
my information correctly?
It's not a residence, it's
The
office
business,
building.
yeah. And it was the toilet bowl.
The public toilets have commercial flush on them. And, one of the tenants came in and said, oh my God, we're hearing a lot of water running upstairs. And so we rushed over and I think you're familiar with Minatola Plumbing. They do a lot of work for the city.
Mhm.
And they shut it off, took it apart, and found all kinds of sludge in the valve. And so ended up replacing it, and then, like 3 or 4 weeks later, the second one did the same thing. So, and that was on a Sunday, so I got hit with an emergency visit as well on that bill, as well as, so, I mean, the water bill, the water usage went up from 70,400 in 2023 billing to 460,400, which is a 671% increase.
Mhm.
Fortunately, you know, we caught it as quickly as we could and took care of it, but, I mean,
Did you
Yes.
get, did
Sorry.
you get a copy of your monthly usage from
I
the?
did not,
I'll get it, you mind?
So I,
don't know anything about that.
we did a little research, and on April 17th, the city finished flushing the lines, and June 14th, this is when there was an issue. I'm gonna make a motion that we table this to have it investigated further, and I'm gonna also suggest that they make a claim to the city, because he does have an invoice. May I make a copy of this to give to, or is this my copy? Thank you, that I'm gonna submit. So my motion is to table this at least till next month for us to investigate a little further. And I'm gonna suggest that you make a claim to the city of Oneonta regarding this, because
Against our insurance.
it'll be against the city's
Against our
insurance,
In your insurance.
Our insurance, city.
city of Oneonta's insurance.
I think we also want the meter tested.
Okay, we can do
Yeah.
that.
That's one of the steps that we should be taking, so I would amend the motion to say that we have the meter tested and we, give Dr. Sweet a opportunity to make a claim against the city's insurance for this. They will investigate it too, and then it can come back to us.
Right.
But you won't be getting any penalties. That was our motion at the beginning of the meeting, that penalties are waived until we make a decision.
So how do I make a claim against the city?
We'll give that to you in 1 second.
Okay.
Ginny, give me 1 second, cause we only have one.
The person is right behind you, she will give you her phone number, you can call and she will.
Okay.
We only have a first though, right, not a second on either one of
But
these.
we have to pass that motion.
Yeah, I only have a first on my motion and a first on yours, so my original motion was to table it so that we can investigate further and to, recommend that he, make a claim to the city, so do I have a second for that? And then we'll do your amendment, okay, so Marge, and then
I'm
Marge's,
suggesting that we just make a change
and
to
I
the whole
amend,
motion.
I will second her amendment to also check the meter, have the meter tested, please.
So it's one motion.
So it'll be one motion, but the way she wrote it, I wanted to make sure we had it properly. Okay, so,
Is the claim for the plumbing bill or for the water bill or both?
both,
Oh, wow. Okay. I was just hoping we could, because of the 671% unusual increase, we could go back and I could pay what the average used to be.
so,
Let me speak to that.
yeah, sure.
The city code permits us to make adjustments to water bills and water and sewer bills. But when we do, we have to have, known usages. So when we aren't sure about your usage this year, or we are sure, that's why we're gonna have the meter tested. Then we are permitted under the, chapter 291, to go back 3 years and make an average of whatever the 3 years was, but we aren't at that point yet.
I
I
understand,
think the motion that we have is to hold
absolutely.
and then find out where we are,
I just didn't want
because,
you to think I was after.
No, no,
well, but we can't adjust water and sewer bills without some legitimate reason,
Absolutely.
because those are based on a meter, and and if we don't trust our meters, we're cooked, right?
talking about our bill.
So I think you just have to be patient. I mean, we'll see whether this motion passes, but I think
So
patience is the.
Will somebody come out to test the meter, or
Yes,
do I have to call something and do that, or?
We
Please
will
set it up,
direct
yeah.
the water department to contact you, and then, so you might wanna, do we have your contact information? I think, do we have a phone number for you?
I can give it to you.
Okay.
Six-
we'll do it
ready?
off record.
Go,
Yeah.
6.
You want it on record, his public
Oh,
info,
no,
his phone
probably
number?
not.
No.
Okay, we'll do it at the end.
Okay, so we have this motion on the floor that we have to call roll for.
Excuse me, Chair Levinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Merzick,
Yes?
and Commissioner Hartley.
Yes.
Okay. And then Ginny will get in touch, you can get in touch with Ginny. Ginny, did you have a question for me, or you wanna give us a statement?
I'm not sure when the repair was done by the plumber, but if you look, his usage is still very high for January and February of '24. So this isn't just a '23 problem. So I'm not sure when the plumber got there, but.
So this is November they were there, December they were there, according to this invoice from,
And you will see that 74,600 gallons was used in the month of January, 50,900 gallons was used
Still high, yeah.
This report doesn't have March, but I can look up March, so I'm believing that whatever their situation is, it still exists.
Exists, okay.
So I'm not sure if it's really from the flushing until DPW goes in and looks, because we did the flushing in June and the usage, our usage did not start until October.
October, correct.
So whatever's going on is still going on, is my point.
It is the page before.
Did you hear that, Dr. Sweet?
They put the-
Yeah,
So what she's saying is that the
we
usage,
don't have anybody taking showers there.
So
Right.
Did you get DPW
They
there?
don't have
They
a
can
laundry
inspect the meter.
service or anything.
Yeah.
What Jenny is saying to you is that DPW can get there and,
DPW can get there, they can check the meter, they can also check to see if there's any leaks in the house. So for example, if you have a running toilet, even that, from the sludge, or if there's a leak somewhere else in the building, they'll be able to detect to see if there's a leak going on.
Okay, I mean, we haven't
I think she just gave this to me,
found
to make
any
sure.
water anywhere.
No, it's probably running somewhere. That's gonna be my guess, because the usage for January and February is still high. I can actually go downstairs and get March, because we just did the March readings.
Oh, wow.
But so what I'm saying is this. is
Marge,
not going
you
up.
gave him his breakdown?
no, I gave him
That's,
the
little bit
usage sheet,
cheaper.
this one.
Okay,
So I think it's still going up.
He has the other.
he has the other, okay.
Dr. Sweet,
Yes.
could be someplace where you can't see it, could be down there in the building or wherever.
So
The-
just,
the water line
our
that
people
comes
will
from-
help you with that.
The water line comes in from the road and past the,
Somewhere past the meter.
Correct.
Well,
Okay,
thank you,
thank you, good luck. We'll see you,
I guess.
maybe, maybe not.
Everybody have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
Dr. Sweet, if you go down the hall, down this hall, there's the elevator right there.
Okay. All right, next we have 478 Main Street. How are you? It's you. All right. And kind of took you out of order, so I want to make sure that I grab the right stuff when I talk. Okay. Okay,
So you're taking,
478,
Adeline?
yes,
Okay,
she's next on the
So-
list.
this is Adeline.
Okay. Okay, so the appeal before us for 478 Main is Adeline's on, Main Street.
it's right after.
Yep. So they were concerned because the water bill they received from the city, last week was very high. They were billed the minimum charge for approximately 5 years and then received this year's bill. It was about 6 times the amount that they were billed previously. After speaking with Virginia Lee on the phone, they discovered that the new water meter installed in 2020 was never connected to the system and was actually only read for the first time this year.
That means the ERT was never
Or
connected.
it was never connected. So they've paid the minimum for the first 4 years of the business being open. The ERT showed that there was no usage. However, they still use the water, obviously, the business has been open. Did you get this breakdown from Ginny?
just now.
Okay, so the breakdown that Ginny had provided us showed that over the 4-year span, that there was some portions that were underpaid. You'll see like the 23460, I need glasses for reading now, was underpaid in 2021.
What you're supposed to be looking at, because
And then again, you'll see the underpayment in 2022, 30628 and 29958. She kind of broke it down for us so that we could see a little bit better. So in essence, they've paid their minimum only for the past 4 years, and now it's kind of like catching up to them because the ERT wasn't connected.
do you wanna give a little explanation?
Yeah.
Sure, so what happened was, the meter was replaced on May 15th of 2020. ERT, however, was not updated and connected to the system. So when we did the readings in 21, 22, and 23, the reads never made it to our computer. So every year those bills were created, and it said the last read was on 2019. So they were getting bills for the minimum showing
Minimum.
zero usage. Mary Ann and I have been working with DPW on all the accounts that are either getting zero reads or no reads to investigate, is it a vacant house, is the ERT not working, is the meter not turning, whatever. So this year, we discovered on this particular account that the ERT was not communicating. We finally got the reading, and so when we looked at it, the reading was for 396,270 gallons. So when we went to create the 2024 annual billing, we reduced that consumption by 37,000 for 2020, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So we gave them a credit of 148,000 gallons to bring the reading consumption down to 269. And because that was the only thing that I had the ability to do, was to give you credit for the minimum that you had already paid for. Now, the minimum bill, as you know, pays for the infrastructure for the water sewer, and it also includes the first 37,000 gallons. There's no way for us to tell how much water they used in the various years. So what I did is I just did an estimate, and I took it over the 43 and a half months that has passed since the installation of the meter. Then I reapplied it to the rates that would have been billed in 21, 22, 23, to show you what the differences in the bills were. That's all I can do as far as my authority, so that is in your hands if you want to adjust the bill in any way. So that's basically the history of, and I understand that this is a surprise, and I've apologized to the owner saying that, I'm very sorry that, we did not get consumption readings, in a timely manner like we should have.
Right.
And we had a very nice exchange and a very nice conversation. And so I'm here to just give you the history of what happened onto the account and what I was able to do as the director of reducing the consumption by 148,000 gallons.
The bills we got, all said they were actual readings over
Yes.
the past years.
Yes, because it was a zero read, so the
'Cause it was-
computer was saying actual because it was a zero read. And you would have seen on those bills where it said zero, it would have also shown the consumption of being zero.
Right.
Which
We don't. You get a bill in the mail, and we're not reading everything on it, we're just paying what
We
it
just want to
says.
pay our bills so that we're.
So, and also, and I understand that you have the authority to do a 3-year average. However, we
There
don't
was
have
no
a 3-year
read,
average
right.
because we don't have any
Because we don't have
readings.
any prior.
Right.
Correct, we have no prior readings.
Cause it's like 43 and a half months.
Is there some reason why these people should be billed because the city can't get their meters set up properly?
Well, they did use the water. I mean, they were
The
open
meter
for
was
business.
working.
The meter was
It's just
working,
it
it's just that it didn't send it to the computer system.
I understand that, but they weren't sent the bills. The bill that they sent.
We pay bills every year, the minimum
The
amount.
minimum
In
amount.
our eyes, we're like, we don't know what a minimum is, we just used the minimum for 5 years now.
I
Then
sympathize,
this year, somehow we used 6
sympathize,
times that.
I sympathize with you, Cole. I don't see why you should be charged for something where the city couldn't figure out how to charge you for it. And I think, we always go back, well, the 3 years, we don't have a 3-year record of them because the city didn't do their job. And so now these people have to cough up a large amount of money to pay for something that is the city's mistake. Now,
But they use
arguing
the
with-
They
water.
use the water.
But they use the water, and they're not complaining. I mean, we could do a couple of things. We could have the meter tested, make sure the meter's working.
That doesn't solve the problem.
No,
The problem
it
is
doesn't
that they
solve the
weren't billed
problem.
properly for
You know,
3
one
years.
of the challenges that we have is that it's so many years. So we could charge them under the 2020 rates, which would be billed in 2021. That would be less. I mean, it would still be, they would be paying for the water.
On the
that
average
they're
of
doing.
you're talking about at the
But-
average of like $9,000.
But I think what the finance
$9,000
office
gallons.
has done is very reasonable in that it has applied the earlier rates to a consistent usage. Because you basically, I mean, you were actually open less at the beginning
We
and,
had no idea we were using over any amount that was minimum.
right,
And why would we? We had
no,
no idea.
you're right, right.
And this is just a stupid example, but, you know, if we sold an ice cream cake 3 years ago, and now we say, "Oh, let's call them up, they never paid for that ice cream cake, let's collect it now. What are they gonna say to us?
And that's
You gotta
very
be crazy."
understandable. As a business, it puts you in a awkward position,
We
but.
have to pay for our mistakes in the business. We're
It seems
hoping
as
the
though the
city
city
is
would
going
have
to.
noticed that they were getting a zero amount every year, if you actually
We have,
looked at the
we have
bill.
3,000 customers, so
Well,
it's really hard to look at one and say,
That's not our problem,
no, it isn't your problem,
that's the
but.
city's problem. And
It's a
it-
cop out, Marge, there's 3,000 people in the city, yeah, we understand that, but, come on, that's not a good excuse to say, well, we got 3,000 people.
Well, getting.
Because I got 1,400 people where I work, and I can't sit there and use that excuse, come on. I'm sorry, I just have to speak up on that, I don't
You're
think that's
fine.
a great excuse, that we got 3,000 people.
For crimes and things, there's always a statute of limitation. I mean, these people have years and years that they've thought they've been paying the bill,
Just so
One-
you know, I just
And
answered
so-
that question, I did check with the city attorney,
yeah.
and I asked, the statute of limitation on this is 6 years. So we're only going back 4. So I did check that. But
Another thing we can do is figure out how much they're using now. I mean, this isn't a good time because this is winter when you're the least open.
Right.
So we could look at the usage for a few months and then multiply that time and use that as our average. I mean, maybe they were using more at the beginning, maybe they were using more at the end, but we rely on the meter. The
What-
meter, if we can't rely on the meter, I mean, we can have their meter tested
You
and
have
find out.
you have the
Or-
meter reading, it's just 3 years too late. The meter reading says they used a hell of a lot of water. So we don't need to do it now and test and you know, there's no,
Again,
there's no question, they used a lot of water and they weren't billed for it.
You're welcome to make a
I still
motion.
say if we forgive it all, then we're setting a precedent for the next person who comes in and says, I paid the minimum, obviously I used more, what am I, you know, I don't have to pay for it.
The precedent is if the city makes a mistake and doesn't bill them properly, then I mean, if that always comes up, then I mean, they say the same thing. It's the city's mistake, they shouldn't have to pay for it. It doesn't set a precedent like the previous case where all of a sudden we have to say, oh, well, gee, we're not gonna charge you what we think, what you know you should pay. These people didn't know they should pay. There's no precedent. The precedent is if the city can't get their stuff together and send the proper bill, they shouldn't have to pay.
Is that gonna be your motion?
I don't know if I'm getting any votes, but I'm a mean guy. I would, what's the motion would be to accept the appeal and they don't owe any more.
That would be your motion.
I'd move that, yes. See if anybody else wants to.
I hate to give up on the meter.
So, just so I have it correct, you're gonna accept the appeal with no additional fees incurred.
We have
I
a
don't
second
think it
from
sets a
Mr.
precedent. The only precedent set is if indeed somebody else comes in with a broken meter that didn't work right, that would be the precedent.
So what am I reducing
that
the bill by if you do that? I'm confused. What am I reducing the bill by if you do that? So I don't quite.
He's saying
understand the
that
motion.
his motion is that the bills that they paid and are standing, that's it. We lose the rest.
They paid their bill.
The city loses the rest. So there is no adjustment on their bill. They've paid the minimum, that's their bill, is what he's saying.
So you're saying the minimum for the 24?
He's saying all the bills that they've paid,
That.
that's all that they've
Then
owed.
what happens with 24 when they got a bill for,
No, so that right now, there's.
Oh, this year's bill, you're saying?
This year's
this year's billing is,
Yes,
$1,400 and, well, it's $2,775.75. So that bill is okay.
That's,
what you're
that's
saying.
after the meter, that's after the meter was collected, is that correct?
Correct.
They should pay that because the meter was working.
That was for last year.
But that was, the bill,
That was
I'm
for
sorry,
all
if I
the
did,
years.
yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't make this clear.
Okay,
The bill that was generated from the 2024 annual bill was an adjusted measurement
okay.
going back to May of 2020.
When was the meter corrected?
When
The ERT, when,
January 10th.
Um,
They took a reading at January 10th.
yeah, I think what they did is they actually went up and they did a handheld.
So the January 10th reading was the one that showed that they used a hell of a lot of water.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, they don't have to pay any of that bill because the meter wasn't working.
The meter is working. That
As
was
of
just-
January
the only
10th,
thing that was not-
as
the only
of
thing that was-
January 10th, the meter was not working until they read the
No,
January.
just the ERT.
just the
Yeah,
ERT
just
was
the
not
ERT
read.
wasn't working. The meter was turning, the meter was working. It
Okay,
was just the
okay.
communication that wasn't happening. So,
Well, let me start over. When were they when was the reading finally verified that the meter was actually running properly?
January
we're allowed
10th.
Okay, so that bill, they've already paid all that.
No.
Yes, they have. That's
We
the,
didn't
that's,
pay our minimum this year, because you sent us the $2,700 bill, so we haven't paid our water tax this year.
okay, so ever since so if they go out and read the meter again, that will be whatever it's increased from January 10th.
Yeah, well,
You owe that money.
Right.
That makes
And
sense?
we can budget for that, if we know somehow that we are using more than the minimum. We did not know that, we would, it's a little hard to budget when up for 5 years you're paying a minimum, thinking that's a minimum. I have no idea what 37,000 gallons is, and we wouldn't have, and I just found that out. We're just using water and paying our bill every year. And then all of a sudden, we're 5.5, 6 times the amount comes, and we're finding out what happened. And now we found out what happened is we were just charged the minimum because it was never being read.
So I guess my motion then implies that since they owe water bills from the January 10th, after the January 10th reading.
So the bill, the bill that they have currently that they are appealing includes all of the past water usage because the meter was working, but the ERT, I would just
I
want
got
you to
that.
clarify that the ERT was not reading it to send it to the computer system.
I got that.
So the water that they used, they did use, it just didn't transfer to our computer system. Are you stating that you want your motion to read that they only pay the minimum for the year of 2023?
I think that every time they got a bill.
They've paid those minimum bills. So
paid the minimum bills, they should-
2020 they paid, 2021 they paid, 2022 they paid.
They should pay no.
2023 is what's currently owed, which includes all of the extra usage water.
Okay,
So do you want them to, do you want your motion to read that they only pay the minimum for 2023?
no, I wanna, they read the meter on January 10th,
Of this year, 2024.
2024. That's the first actual reading, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, at that point, since January 10th, 2024, if there's any other meter reading made, they owe that amount of water since January 10th.
But that doesn't happen right now. That happens at the next
Fine,
bill,
Fine, good. So currently, right now, they don't owe any money for
except the minimum for
what
2023.
they've already paid,
They haven't paid that yet.
We haven't
That's
paid
what's in
that one
standing,
yet.
that's what's in front of us.
what they've already been billed for.
Well, I don't think he understands.
I don't think he understands.
What our appeal is we're willing to pay the minimum.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to clarify what his motion is.
Okay, what is it, what,
So let me explain to you how the billing works. The annual billing includes two things. It includes the minimum bill for 2024. That 2024 minimum billing also includes for the first 37,000 gallons that will be used in 2024. Also, what's in the annual billing is any excess that was used in 2023 at the time of the reading. So if the
because they use the water. That's.
So then you are stating that your motion would be that their bill that they're appealing right now should be the minimum amount only that they're paying for 2023, right? I think that's what he wants.
But the minimum for 2024.
24, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, the minimum for 23
It's already been paid.
so whatever you decide, I just need clear instructions of how to adjust the bill.
The only thing you can bill them for is what was used since January 10th.
That will not get billed.
Until next year.
I don't care.
Okay, so then I'm gonna amend his motion to read that, Mr. Hartley is looking for the minimum usage only for 2024 to be billed to this owner. Will you second that, Mr. Hartley?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. And that's, we're gonna put that in amended motion.
Correct.
Ready to take that?
Yeah, I also, you said that, just before we move on and we vote, you said that the meter is working, the ERT is now connected, it is reading currently.
It is reading correctly, yes.
Okay, so,
As of January 10th.
Yes, everything got fixed, so the systems are talking to each other.
Yes, it's rolling, we read it today.
okay, now you can full vote.
Alright, Chair Levinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore, Commissioner Merzig,
No.
Commissioner Kirby's not here, Commissioner Hartley,
Yes.
Okey-dokey. Alrighty. So will they get an adjusted bill from you, Jenny?
I will correct your bill, and, what I will do is, I need to adjust it down to the minimum, and then I will send you a corrected statement.
Thank you. Right, 173 Chestnut, correct?
yes.
Yes. No, that is my. All right. So 173 Chestnut is a water bill, and this is,
I didn't bring anything with me on that one, because it wasn't on the list.
Got it in here. So she would be towards the back. Just before the minutes.
okay. So this was, Miss, how do I say your name? Gatanis. I just didn't want to mispronounce it, I apologize. Wrote to us regarding the water bill appeal for 173 Chestnut. She received 2 notices from the water department informing her that there was high usage, so she did get high usage cards on this property. And then she called someone in to basically evaluate and figure things out. So you have the usage, there was also, you have this showing that she did contact the city to let us know that they found that there was a toilet running in one of the apartments. Are there 5 apartments, am I correct?
Yes.
5 apartments in this building. And then you should also have the usage. I actually asked, and I don't know if you guys have the current usage for January, February, and March. But that usage is also still very high, well, not very high, but high as it's been in the past couple of months in November and December. So January to, December and January was 50,000, 35,000, and then 22,000 is current. So, it looks like it was pretty consistent with what it was when she saw the toilet running. So is still something there, or is still using high usage?
I was thinking now, the hot water heater had been broken, it was leaking. So
Another leak.
that's where
Another
the
leak, okay.
usage is, and also one of the toilets again was broken. But in the past, because I know this is the last
the flushes. Yeah.
Long story short, Mary Ann advised me, because I did call several times and I said, I don't know what to do. So she advised me to shut down the main and see if the water still, because this building has each apartment has their own.
Oh, okay, spinning.
So that's how I actually found out where the water was leaking at that point. I contacted the tenant right away, they didn't let me go in, they said, by law, you have to give us 24 hours, which I do know, but if it's an emergency, it's an emergency. I went after 24 hours, they didn't let me go in, and then I had to go in another 24 hours, because then I told them that I'm gonna call the police to let us go in. So, they were fixed, it was two faucets at that time that it was leaking, but the major leakage was from the toilet
Toilet.
vents. I mean,
What date did you go in?
well, this was, the three toilets, it was back, I believe it was
November.
July and November, I am not very sure with the timing. This year, I did go in one of the apartments, it was February, plus in March, we had the hot water broken down, that it was leaking also. So, I think that's where I took my fingers crossed.
It appears you're still using
High
a good
usage.
amount.
Well, there is five family house, and normally the bill was coming $1,500 to $1,700, but this year,
Just don't be surprised if you get another big bill.
Yeah.
It appears from the records of the water usage that you had pretty constant usage until November of 2022, where it started up,
that's what my guy would tell.
and then it continues to go up until like the middle of 2023, and it continues to go up. The high was in November of 2023,
That's when she found the leaks
That's
in
when I
November.
found out that it
But-
was,
but as
they
of,
got to Miss Mary Ann that.
as of December, you still have a lot of water usage.
I'm so sorry.
As of December of last year, you still have a lot of water usage. So you must have leaks someplace else.
How can I find out, how can I, detect if any of this?
Can we request,
I mean-
if we request, Marge, guide me a little bit, if we request for the meter to be checked, DPW comes in and checks the building too, or can we just request that separately?
Well, they're gonna check the meter, but they have to have permission to get into the apartments. They can tell you
That's
whether
the
there's
really
continuous flow, you know,
Right.
whether nothing ever stops,
Right.
that's usually an indication that you continue to have a leak.
But she has issues with it, but you have issues with the tenants letting you
It's
in.
not like I have issues, if I don't bother them, they don't bother me, but if I would request that I have to do something, or if I have electrical inspection. The other day, I mean, back in December, I was supposed to do my electrical inspection, and I just went and spoke down to the code. The tenants were notified, they knew about it, we had the electrical inspector come in. We went into 4 apartments, we didn't get to one. We were there ringing the door, she was in there, she didn't let us go in. So he said that, okay, don't worry, we can set up another appointment, I will come back. He never came back because he's far, according to what he's saying. He gave me another person to do the inspection. He asked me for a charge of double the money from what I paid for the 5 units. And he never showed up. So I have a problem when I have
You need
to
to get
go
in.
inside, because some of them, they are,
Yeah, it's hard to
I
deal
don't know
with.
what's the word that I should be using, but it's not easy. It's not easy. I am trying to do everything I can by myself, but it's very difficult. And
I know.
especially now, I'm going through a very difficult time. So if anything can be forgiven,
The problem is that, I mean, I sympathize with you as I sympathized in the past, but the water's being used, you're saying that you have leaks, you know you have leaks,
but right now, I don't know about it.
Right.
I fix anything
that you've
I-
just seen recently,
I wasn't aware of.
since
I'm
November.
on top of the constant leaks.
the meter's working, I just,
Can we
if
have
we,
the
if we
meter
request to, if we request to table it and have the meter checked and DPW to go in,
We can wait a
um,
minute.
my concern is that they're not gonna be able to get in if the tenants give a hard time still. But I think that there's still high usage, which means it's either they're just using the water cause they don't care,
You know,
or there is still a leak there, cause the numbers are still as high as they were when you fixed in November. There's still a leak.
numbers continue to be big. I,
It seems like if she has some arrangements where they can give 24-hour notice, the city can notify her 24 hours in advance they're gonna try to come in.
sure.
And if
Yeah.
that doesn't work, she can give another 24-hour notice, in which case,
Yeah, I mean, we can table this and have the meter checked and have the code, or have our water people go through and they'll tell you that there's a leak.
Would they be able, the water department, to check through the way I found out that which apartment was, having the leakage?
Yeah, DBW will do that for you.
Through their meter spinning, if you shut down
The main,
That's what they're there
that's what they're gonna do. Yeah,
And if, in case we cannot go in the apartment.
Well, you know, you're in a bind because you're responsible for
I
the
do understand
usage and,
I do
you know,
understand
these are things that are fixable.
do they have,
It's not like I know something that needs to be done or get fixed or do, and I am not on top of it.
we understand that.
I am not that kind of a landlord.
No.
I'm always on top of everything. but
We're sympathetic to
sometimes-
it, but the fact that you know and you've admitted that there are
Yes,
leaks and
I
we
don't
know that there's
disagree
leaks.
with you at all.
So my motion, I'm gonna make a motion that we table this till next month. I'm also gonna put in my motion that DPW please go in and check the meter and help find any leaks within the building itself.
If it's
And they'll, if it's possible for them to get in, and they can hopefully help you figure that out, and then we can meet again.
Ask one
Mhm.
question, please. If they come, do I have to be present? The reason is I'm gonna be absent
Uh,
to a medical problem that I am facing right now.
If, DPW can go into the house as long as there's someone there to let them in, they cannot enter the house
without
by
approval.
themselves.
Okay, as long as I know that they will go, I will give the key and have them inspect. Yeah, that is it.
Alright, so we have a motion to table. Do I have a second with the inspection?
Can I ask one more question, please?
Yes.
I know we said what it needs to be done.
Are we voting?
She just has one more question before we vote.
Oh, yes.
Is there any forgiveness on these bills so I can pay my bills?
Well, that's why we tabled it, so that we could figure out what it is, and then we can, if we have to adjust, or if we can look at it to adjust, or to make any adjustments.
So
For the time being, there'll be no fees accrued on it, and it's just sitting there waiting for us to make a decision.
So I shouldn't send anything here and wait for the final decision?
I mean, that's up to you if you wanna pay anything towards it, but that's why we're tabling it, so that we can inspect the meter and find if there's more.
Can I pay something towards it from
Yes,
what I
you
paid?
can.
It was
I mean, yeah.
supposed to be like every year,
Yeah.
and then leave the remaining?
You mean the minimum? Yeah, and I'm sure that's fine, right, Jenny? It'll get applied.
Will that be okay?
Okay. Alright, so can we have a vote, please?
Sure, Chair Levinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore, Commissioner Merzick, Commissioner Hartley.
Okay, so we can go back to what's on the list, which was, once we'll finish the water appeals, 15 Richards Avenue. 15 Richards Avenue, unfortunately, these families, there's two, Richards and, 15 and 20, both were involved in the explosion on Richards Avenue that happened on December 9th. 15 Richards Avenue is saying that they were involved in an explosion. The water's been off since December 9th. They can't move back in till October, and they're looking for us to waive the entire bill. My concern is that if we adjust for the 3 years prior, it's actually more, because the rate is higher. And even though this terrible tragedy happened on December 9th, the bill is for January 1st of 2023. till they stopped using the water December 9th when the tragedy happened, so they weren't billed anything extra or anything less. And they did use the water when they were living there from January 1st to December 9th before this terrible explosion happened and they couldn't be in their own home anymore. And I know that 15, I think, actually was taken down this week, so my concern is that if we did do an adjustment on this, it's actually more than what the bill is that they received, when I did the number
I make a
calculation.
motion that we deny that, the appeal for 15 Richards, based on the actual usage of the water.
I'll second it.
So this is, they're just paying what they actually
Use, right.
Exactly,
Up until December.
till December 9th.
Marge, the bill includes the minimum plus the overage.
Oh, plus the 39,000. Okay, wait. For 2024.
Four. So the minimum is in there for 2024, plus the overage for 23.
Okay, so we're.
So we have to
we're
adjust it then.
Adjusting for the overage for because they're not using the water now and they probably won't.
So do you want the bill to be only for the overage for 23 and not the minimum for
Yes.
24?
Yes, so I'm gonna amend my motion for, I'm gonna amend my motion to adjust for the overage of 23 only. So bill from January 1st, no, you're fine.
Adjust for overage of 23.
So January 1st of 23 to December 9th of 23 is all they should be billed for.
So you want the minimum for 24 to be eliminated?
Eliminated, the house is no longer in existence.
And the same is true for 20.
And the same
because
goes
they
true
don't
for
pay
20, correct. Okay, so let's,
Do we have a second for that one?
a second
your
for
amended
my,
motion?
Marge just raised her hand. Okay, now we can vote,
Chair Levinson,
yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Merzick,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley,
Yes.
Okay,
And I
and,
make a motion that the bill for 20, since it's only the minimum for 2024 and the house is being demolished, that we forgive the entire bill.
so we didn't take those as
She's only paying the minimum.
that was, this
we
is
didn't
another
take
one.
those both.
No, we
did
just took 15, yeah.
So there has been no usage. There'll be no usage for 2024.
Correct,
So the motion would be,
to deny
The
the,
motion is to forgive the rent for the minimum charge.
They should be charged nothing.
That's right.
correct.
and who's gonna second? Okay, discussion? or
Nope,
just-
we're good, right?
Chair Levinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Merzick,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley.
Yes.
And then 34 Cherry Street is the last water bill appeal that they acknowledged that there was a leak in the basement due to a furnace pipe that was leaking. It was fixed by a plumber. They acknowledged the water portion, however, the water was leaking into the floor and didn't use the sewer, so they're looking for an adjustment. We looked at the last 3 years. The problem with the last 3 years is that in 2019, the meter was in storage, it wasn't being used. So we went back to 2016, 2017, and 2018 I looked at, and Mary Ann helped get us those numbers and adjusted it. So if we adjusted over a 3-year period, it was 134,640 gallons over the 3-year period. So we would adjust it based on the sewer, just the sewer portion to adjust.
Jenny, do you understand what we're talking about?
Sorry.
I didn't look at this one before.
Okay, so the average of this, and this is that, and that's what the sewer would be. Okay.
Sorry, I thought you were on this email, Ginny, I apologize.
I might have been, but I
Sorry.
might not have just got to it.
That's
I
okay.
make a motion that we reduce the sewer charge to reflect an average of the years 2016,
Six.
17, and 18, which is 134,640
gallons.
18, I'm sorry, can you tell me? the
18, 17, and 16, and the gallons is 134,640.
I have 16, 17,
16, 17,
and
and 18, yep. 16,
Okay.
17, and 134,640. Okay. So I'll second that, sorry, she first did. Any discussion? Okay, full vote,
Chair Levinson,
yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Merzick, Commissioner Hartley.
Okay, and the last thing on our agenda is 106 Chestnut Street. We had tabled this a couple of times and tabled it again last month for April. This was 3 West Street. Is another rental that this owner has. They started talking about it, I don't know why, but 106 Chestnut Street is for this appeal. It's an electrical inspection violation for $570. Basically was saying that it's difficult to find an electrician, that they had to wait for the electrician. Code enforcement came, everything was cleared. I informed the owner last month that the bill that they had received, it would generate another bill because it was closeout bill, if you remember that correctly. And they're gonna get another bill for $1,180 or so, if I did my calculations correctly. So they asked us to table it again, but I don't see where there's any documentation stating that there's a reason to table it nor to find the appeal in favor of, but, does anybody, you were here, not here, Mr. Hartley, about this one last month, but do you guys remember it, Ms. Merzick and Pastor Phil? So in October 31st of 2022 was the violation. It didn't clear until January 26th of 2024 is when the inspection was actually done, and we received it on January 29th of 2024.
I make a motion that we deny the appeal.
Any discussion? Okay, full vote.
Chair Levinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Merzick,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley.
Okey-dokey.
So then we have the,
Yes, so we need to approve our minutes from March 7th. Did anybody see any? Okey-dokey. March is on a roll. Okay. Call a vote?
Chair Levinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore, Commissioner Merzick, Commissioner Hartley.
Abstain.
Okey-dokey.
No code enforcement updates.
I don't think we have any updates. They left. I think that we have somebody that would like to speak to the board real quick.
Yes, if you would. So I just had a phone call informing me.
Before you speak, just because your back is to the camera and it's
I'm sorry.
recorded, Mike, just
Michael
reach.
Stolzer, regarding 21-23 West Street. I was just informed that I'm the owner of the property. News to me, my name is on the deed because it was a requirement of the mortgage holder. I was trying to help my son get a little start in life, and
information of you being the owner is, primary owner is listed as you with the county. So your name and address, 97 Main, is listed currently still, as of this morning,
I don't doubt it.
As the owner.
I don't doubt it for a second.
Okay,
But
so-
that's my attorney's error, my problem. But
so we do have the property use certificate, that they did fill out in October of '23. So that is, all the information will be going to Eric going forward, to his address, which is a P.O. Box, address, as his address, P.O. Box 135. So going forward, he's been getting, since October when we got this property use, everything has been sent to him. Prior to that,
though, I received no notifications about anything.
there was a signed, registered letter signed by somebody at that property.
In April of 23.
And I could tell you the date, hold on.
Well, it's April of 20.
April of
That's a
23,
year ago.
yeah.
Yeah, and,
Well, your claim is that you've always done what you're supposed to have done.
well, it was
After a
addressed,
year?
when I got that, I went right over to the code office. And, John told me that it was going to be, because of the scheduling, it was going to be months till something happened. And having done this, my part, to help my son, I stayed out of it. And John, and, I've had conversations at the code office about the property. There was an issue with the garbage, and, we handled it, but and John understood that I was communicating with Eric, not doing any of this, that I don't own the property, and none of my money is in it. All I did was help, to get the mortgage sold.
The point is that you just said that your name was on the deed.
Yes.
You own the property. You just
My-
heard the city tell you that your name is on the register for the city, your address.
I
So you
understand,
can't.
but so is his. His name is
Just
also
a
on the deed.
minute, excuse me.
Yeah.
So when I hear you telling me that your name is, you don't own the property, that's
In-
wrong.
I understand what you're saying.
Well,
So let me, please let me rephrase.
don't repeat it again, because
me rephrase it.
you said it 3 times. I'm an owner, I'm not an owner, but my name is on the deed.
So
And
my
and this
intention,
person is, let me finish, please.
I'm sorry.
So, I don't wanna hear it again. I've heard it already. You're just taking up my time telling me you don't own the property, you have nothing to do with it. You and your son own the property, and if you're gonna shove it off onto him, then he's responsible, and you're responsible for it also. So don't
That's
say,
why I'm
well,
here.
don't say you turn it all over to him and you have nothing to do with it. Your name is on the deed. The letters were sent to you, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And in reference to the
So-
bill, right now,
As owner of the property, I responded to those letters immediately and went directly personally to the code office.
and change the address to Eric to be responsible for it. So,
We discussed that at that time, that Eric is the owner. But it was before that conversation had taken place, when there was an issue about some garbage. So, this was the second time we had discussed that, exactly what the arrangement was, how I got involved and how I became one of the owners.
No, you were the owner. You are the owner.
How I became
Okay,
one
well,
of
you
the
are.
owners.
You are.
okay, neither here nor there, we've already,
I don't
Mike,
like
we've
that.
already made a motion about
I
this.
just don't
I
wanna hear it
understand
again.
that. It
So-
just
Oh,
seems
well,
to
it's
me-
not my problem.
It seems unnecessarily punitive, where there was a $4,000 fine that was.
So the $4,000 fine that you're referring to is the original invoices that you've received, which were year-end invoices. So the fees did not stop accruing on those accounts because the violations were still not taken care of. So they're continuing to accrue fees. There was 123 days further from the last meeting we had where we stopped the fees because of the appeal. And so that's why it's close to $10,000, because the violations were still not cleared. The only thing that we've tabled right now is the electric inspection violation, because there is a check that she presented to us from 2021, but there's no inspection So we tabled it with the hopes that we can get that paperwork to try to alleviate at least that portion of the bill if possible. But we need documentation to be able to do that. We can't just go on a he said, she said. So the violations had not been cleared, and that is why the violation fees are still incurring.
I understand.
But
It's just
they
breaking
won't
my heart
incur, I mean,
because
until
I
it's
don't-
taken care of, but.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's not, but I can understand it, and
I'm
sounds.
sorry. Yes,
I just, okay, it just seems harsh and punitive, and there was no, as in the case of water, no services provided by the city that have been forgiven, or any of that kind of thing. It's simply,
I understand, but,
simply a punishment,
but we,
and,
I mean, that's why the fees are there. The fees are there, as you know, you have lots of properties.
Yeah.
The fees are there to
and
stop.
I've never ever had to.
I mean, it's to alleviate the city from having dilapidated housing and
Sure.
putting people at risk. That's our job, is to make sure people are safe, so.
Would there be a possibility, to have the, penalty be the same, but be applied to the improvement of the exterior, and so that it actually makes a difference in terms of the neighborhood?
I don't know that we have authority to do that at this board. It's not in our code,
Beyond our
yeah.
grade.
We didn't set the punitive fees, the city sets the fees, and they are meant to be punitive, that's the point. We didn't set them, we just didn't, we go by what the code says, and our decision.
No, that's great, Marzik, thank you. Can we have a motion to adjourn? Yes. Sure.
So like earlier, honestly, I couldn't speak because I was just so sidelined by the price. But like the fees, which everyone seemed to agree is a lot, and like Eric rents to residential people, is there any way like even just bringing it down, or like the 143? He came into this meeting, we both came into this meeting, or three of us, were aware of 4,000. Like, we're like, okay, worst case scenario. It's gonna be
So I did
4,000.
make you aware at the last meeting that even though the frees were frozen at that point, you are gonna get an additional bill because that was only year end, and I made that very clear to everybody that sat here. I've said it multiple times if you pull the recording, just to make you aware that these fees are continuing to accrue because the violations are not taken care of. So I can't stop that from happening. I don't have the authority to do that as the Board of Public Service. We don't have the authority to do, the fees aren't set by us, they're set by the council. So they have the $250 is your initial fee, and then it's $10 a day thereafter. So the bill that you had received, what I was saying to you, that September bill was the year-end bill. So from September till our last meeting, those amount of days is $10 a day. So it was from September 31st, I think it was, till our last meeting that we
Right.
had, where we
Right, I
tabled
remember
it.
you tabling it. So would it be beneficial to Eric and Michael Dahl to go before the council?
That I can't tell you. I don't really know that they have the authority to do anything either. I don't.
Tell us when the council meets, so they can discuss going before and trying their discussion.
Tuesday evenings at 7 PM right here. It's next week you have a meeting.
Week
Let's say it's week after, yeah. 6? 16.
Well, $10,000 is,
That's a lot of money.
it is, especially for somebody who rents to residential, and like sometimes.
When the city made the rules,
Sorry, he first the motion to end the
That's why they
meeting.
made the rules.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn. And I
Yeah,
seconded it.
being notified when it's being
I don't think we need to
stopped,
vote for
that
that.
has been
I don't
approved
know how to stop
for
it.
the last however long,
We're gonna call 5:38.
Sure.
is,
Carrie can do that for me.
Notified.
I believe they're probably